It's a black suit with a white shirt and a red tie on a pale figure.
It was one of the first games I could think of where you weren't committing acts of violence to protect yourself. You were supposed to go out there and kill people.
They could put him on a white horse, and that would be about the closest they could get to actually just having him look like he's riding out of the Book of Revelations.
Hitman should translate better to a movie than other games.
When Hitman released in 2000, what it tried to do was provide players with options. And it wasn't truly open world, but what it was a very entertaining sandbox. And from a gameplay standpoint, what that generated was a lot of choices you didn't have in any other games.
The first Hitman game was the first of that particular genre to open up and do away with the linear mission structure.
The starting point for the developers back then was that this time we need to make a game that no one's seen before, and we need to make it as complex as we can.
It introduced a layer of strategy that you didn't see before. That got a lot of people hooked on this whole idea of not just running out and killing everyone on sight with two pistols blazing, but the idea of like creeping and hiding behind shadows and sneaking behind guys and just taking care of business without alerting everyone else.
In Hitman, you need to think a little bit more what to do and how to play the game.
That completely changes the way in which you get satisfaction out of a game. Because if you feel like, wow, look what I came up with and beat the computer, you're gonna feel better than, wow, I did what everyone else did.
In the Hitman game, we wanted to make a story-driven action stealth adventure.
Story is important in video games, because without story, you have no motivation.
What we had is a pretty short background story, what we wanted to tell in each chapter, in each level of the game. And as soon as we now get into making the level design, we expanded that and wrote all the scripts. So in the end, we had a whole big script.
The inspirations from Hitman obviously came from video games in general, but definitely from Hollywood.
Guys that made the first design of Hitman were big fans of Luc Besson's The Professional, Leon. And that type of movie where it's a little bit noir, a little bit mysterious, and not just a glamorous Hollywood production.
What they took out of other movies to create what became number 47, the Hitman behind the series, was a little bit of the conspiracy theory, and then they take that and meld it with the creativity that you need in order to pull off some of these hits.
And we wanted to make his background story more intriguing and more special. That's why we came up with this clone business.
He's the end result of a breeding cloning program that attempted to make the ultimate assassin warrior.
We don't know his mother, and we only know his fathers. They are 5 guys with all evil genes, putting them together to make this perfect assassin.
He wakes up in the first game and doesn't know who he is, what he's doing there, and he kind of finds his way.
What makes Agent 47 unique is that he doesn't have as strong a character as, say, you're looking at Lara Croft or Solid Snake. And for me, I think that's a good thing.
But Agent 47 is a little bit different from most other video game characters because he doesn't really have a backstory because he doesn't know his own backstory.
He doesn't really have a background, which makes him so open to interpretation.
You get to create who that character is through your own play style.
It's not like he's just some hollow shell that points a gun at people. You start finding out through the course of these games that he's a real person, he's been used, and you're trying to figure out exactly how and why.
I think that it's interesting to see him transfer to a movie as well, because he is such a blank slate that you fill in, but we all have an idea of what he looks like if the camera was wrapped around to the front instead of behind him.
He's an anti-hero. First of all, he's very stylized and very cool to look at. He's always cool in situations.
47 stands out because he has a very distinct look. He has the shaved head and the very iconic suit, the tie and the white shirt.
It's the dark side of James Bond, the suave, sharply dressed, except Agent 47 really isn't suave.
It took some of the things that we have in the Bond movies, but you took the softness of the Bond movie out of it, and you just had this very cold-hearted killer, which I think made it a little bit easier for you as the player to get into the game and engage in what is some rather unsavory behavior. The real appeal to me of the Hitman games is you kind of fantasize about being a cold-blooded killer. I don't want to be one in real life, but you know, there is something very empowering about taking on a character like that. And it really gives you a vicarious way of leading a life that you really should never want to do in your real life. So,
How can you go out and kill another human being and just act like that's your job? That's kind of the fascination I have, at least.
Agent 47 is always very much meant to be a cipher, where it's very easy for the player to pretend, well, if I was a really cool bald guy with 2 silver pistols, I'd be just like that.
He usually is always going after people that are just bad people. He's never trying to assassinate a politician who's trying to do good works. He's always going after corrupt people, drug dealers, terrorists. These people are getting what's coming to them.
when you go from a game to a movie, it's usually because you've got a nice mix of ideas inside of the game that aren't so completely articulated that the movie can expand upon that and can find all the nice elements of it and try to create a broader story, once again without violating what made the game so appealing in the first place.
I think to successfully translate a video game to a film, you have to respect the original material, because there's a conception of a universe and there is a logic of that universe. And if you respect the logic of the universe and the material you used for the movie, you can after make a movie, but you don't have to forget to tell a story.
We felt that if we took the core ingredients of the game, which are very cinematic, and translate them into a great story, great script, the fans of the game are going to come along for the ride.
I think Hitman is a very good candidate for an adaptation into a very good movie because it's so grounded in reality in the first place. He doesn't use any science fiction weaponry like laser beams or anything like that. It's a very visceral game, very tactile. You don't have anything that really disconnects you from reality.
I've been waiting for a good video game-based movie that tells me more about a character or explores it from a different angle that I couldn't see in the games.
That's one of the cool things about this character. You just don't want to be him. You want to know more about him and the world that he comes from. And I always felt that that would be an extremely cinematic character.
If you have a character that's iconic, you want to see that character brought to life right.
Without betraying the type of character 47 is, and to that degree the game and the source material, to be able to find 47's quest to try to figure out who's after him and why they're after him.
One of the big challenges about making a movie out from Hitman game is that normally we didn't put that much emotions into Hitman. We didn't put very much feelings into Hitman because we would like to let the player actually put the feelings into Hitman. In a movie, the director needs to define that in advance, because it's not like the spectators can choose how to watch the movie.
In Hitman, the point of view on the character is already a camera behind him, and sometimes a little bit higher behind him. And we have used sometime inside the movie that point of view to give a sort of trigger reference to the gamer.
When you're writing a movie, what you really need to capture about Hitman is that style and that simple pleasure in existence that the game's captured, where why does he do these things? Because he's very good at them. And that defines the character.
Well, it's very popular everywhere you go. People are like, oh, Hitman, that's cool. That's such an amazing video game. So I think already it has a huge sort of audience out there in anticipation of the movie.
I guess people would want to see him, silently taking someone out, using disguises, obviously.
Seeing the iconic shots of the barcode, seeing him from behind with the guns and like the tie blowing in the wind, all that stuff, gonna look great, I think, on the big screen.
In the movie, they're definitely gonna see a bald guy in a black suit and a red tie. And that is, for me, just enough.